Hey traders, John Hall here. I wanted to do this video for you today because I I want to share a story with you. In the past, and in my videos, right, I do a lot of stock market updates. I can't speak today. My technical analysis and stuff like that, right? But I really wanted to share a story with you of your journey as a trader and some things you can do to help you out with your view and how to get involved with it, how to really get ahead in the markets. And I want to share a story with you that really made a big difference to me in understanding the differences between success, happiness, and some things that happen. And I want to share a story with you that which was it was the most devastating thing that happened to me at that time turned into one of the biggest blessings that I had at that time. And so I want to share that story with you. See, a long time ago, a while ago now, I went through a divorce with my ex-wife, and it just totally crippled me financially. I almost went bankrupt at the time. It was a really hard time for me, and and what ended up happening was I was actually forced to move into a share accommodation place. I didn't have that much money to my name as well too. I was forced to move into a share accommodation place just so I could live, right? Now, what ended up happening was at that time I had some money saved away, but I wanted to be able to use that to start trading with. But if I used the money that I had saved away, I think it was about maybe 5 or 10 grand, you know what I mean? Like I had that money there, but I needed to use that to continue trading because I knew how to trade well. But I knew in the back of my mind that if I used this money purely just to trade for a living, I would never do well. Why? Because in the back of my mind, I've always got to pay, pay this week's, this week's rent, and I've got to buy food and all that sort of stuff. Makes sense? And so what I ended up doing was I said, okay, you know what? I'm really into health and fitness. I wonder if there's a gym that'll hire me that if I can start making, a few $100s a week, that'll actually really help when it comes to everything. And so that's what I ended up doing. I ended up getting a certificate 3 in my health and fitness, in my personal training. And what ended up happening was I then found a gym, and because I was one of the most hardest working trainers there, one of the hardest workers, people there at the gym, they offered me some classes, and because the classes they liked, I kept getting more and more work throughout the week, which I loved, right? Because that's one of my other passions, which is health and fitness. Health is more staying healthy, and fitness is more like cardiovascular work and so on and so forth. So what ended up happening was I was down and out. I just thought, how am I going to get out of this mess? As if I went through a divorce, and it was such a tough time. And what ended up happening was throughout that time, I didn't realize just how much of a blessing me deciding to get that little bit of money in to pay for my expenses while I traded. And the reason why I say that is two of the blessing things. One, I minimized my expenses so much that I didn't need a lot per year coming in to cover those expenses, right? So that gave me peace of mind that I didn't need that. And the reason why that was so important in the beginning of catapulting me to where I am today was because one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of traders make and do make, and one of the things that I made in prior to that, sometimes that we rush it, we get into things that we shouldn't do, and that's one of the biggest things, right? That stops us. It's those quiet times when we know we shouldn't be doing anything. We should be just sitting on the sidelines, but we want to get in there. We want to get some validation. We want to trade, right? We want to feel like we're doing something, because if we're sitting there just watching the market, we're not doing anything. So therefore, we're not moving forward. That was the thought. That's the thought of a lot of traders. And so from that process, it allowed me to, because I had money coming in per month. That money coming in per month for me doing the gym classes, maybe 3 or 4 classes per week. Again, I loved it. It was actually one of the best things for me because it actually got me out of the house and so on and so forth. I did that. And then I put my money, again, I think it's about maybe 5 or 10 grand. And then I put that 10 grand, call it 10 grand, into a trading account. And it was a blessing because I said, I don't need to trade today. And because I had that mentality of I don't need to trade today, so therefore I'm only going to wait for the best setups because I can't dwindle this money away. And every time I did get into a position, if it was my $10,000 trading account, my entire risk was $250 per trade. Now I was a pretty active trader back then. I was trading pretty much all night or pretty much late into the night. I was trading options on the Aussie market. And then I'll go into the Forex and futures market into the afternoon, 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd go into the Forex and the futures markets, the E-mini S&P 500, stuff like that. And I'd trade well into, say, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, go to sleep, get up in the morning, and then have my morning to go do the gym classes. And in the afternoon, I'd trade. And that's how I did it again. And I had my specific setup that I'd wait for. And here is the interesting thing that I found. By doing that, by minimizing my expenses, and by having that mentality, like I don't need to trade today. I want to trade and I want to continue growing my account, but I don't need to trade today. And so therefore I'm only going to wait for those setups that scream at me, yes, this is it. And what ended up happening was throughout the week, I'd watch the markets pretty much for about pretty much 8 hours every day. I'd watch the markets. And I was looking at all the different markets and different time frames, 1 minute charts, 2 minute charts, 5 minutes and 15 minute charts. They were the time frames that I was trading. And every now and then I'll go to the 60-minute chart as well too. And then for the Australian market, the Aussie option market, I was trading the daily chart. So getting in today and so on and so forth. And I didn't realize that lesson of me going through the divorce taught me one of the most beneficial skills of getting ahead in the markets was that I didn't have to actively trade to get ahead in the markets. In fact, it was the opposite. If I actively traded, I was going to make mistakes. I was going to get in when I shouldn't. I was going to get out when I shouldn't. I was going to trade too much than I should. And it was a barrel of monkeys, right? It was downhill from there. And so from that process, I learned one of the most valuable skills was that successful trading was never about trading every day or trading a lot. It was only waiting for those good quality setups. So I may have sat there for a whole hour or whole 8 hours, should I say, watching the markets and maybe take one trade. And that one trade would last maybe a few minutes. Now that one trade that lasts a few minutes, I would have made maybe 500, maybe, $500 to $1,000 on. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe $250 to $250 to maybe $500 on that one particular trade that I take. Now, bear in mind, right? Like this is where I'm at. So if I could start to take a couple of those per week, guess what? Now I'm averaging $1 to $2 grand per week. And from that $1 to $2 grand per week, again, I'm watching it for 8 hours. Guess what? Now I can start to increase my position sizes with that. And now I'm making $2 to $4 grand per week on average by watching all these markets all the time. Some weeks are slower, some weeks more. And before you know it, I was doing 6 figures plus per year from that small account. And by risking small, makes sense? So the whole mindset shift went from, I don't need to trade. And because I didn't need to trade, I only waited for the good quality setups that screamed at me that, yes, this is the trade. I would take it. Yes, I have my losses, right? But one thing I found, my success rate went through the roof because I was happy to sit there. And some days I wouldn't trade, right? Some days I'd be sitting there for 8 hours, nothing. Come back the next day, nothing. That was okay. And it taught me one of the most valuable lessons in trading is that to not have that pressure. If you want to go full-time trading, then it's so important to do two things. One, decrease your expenses so you don't have that pressure on you, because if you need to take a trade today to pay a bill, it's never going to work. In fact, it's going to be the complete opposite. It's going to flip you around on your head and you're going to lose that exact same amount of money. And from that process, now, if you're just brand new to the markets, you need to take a bit of time to really study the charts, study exactly what you're looking for in the markets, study the patterns and so on and so forth. Makes sense? Like I did a couple of years prior to that, prior to me going through this process here, right? So I knew exactly what I was looking for. I already did a ton of work on technical analysis, reading the charts. No, I knew exactly the patterns I was looking for, the entry setups, and so on and so forth, right? So I knew exactly what I was looking for. So I did all that work prior to hand. And so that was a blessing. And that's what took me to becoming a quote unquote successful trader. Now, I say quote unquote successful trader, right? Because my goal is just to do $100,000 a year. right? It was I said $8,000 a month, $2,000 a week, right? And as you can see, right, by having a small trading account, say $10,000, but by being active, by trading a lot of hours, not trading a lot, trading a lot of hours, I had a lot of opportunities, and before you know it, I was averaging $1,000 to $2,000 a week from that, say, $10,000 trading account. What did that mean? That mean is that I was now doing 50 to 100 grand per year on average from that one small trading account. Now what was the key here? The key was, one, it was my ability to be able to sit there and not take a trade and say, okay, I don't need to trade, but I'm going to wait for that yes setup. And it wasn't the size of the trading account, was it? It was my ability to be able to trade the markets in a way where I could be patient, right? And just sit there and not do nothing. That's some of the most toughest things that I found prior to that, was that I always felt like I had to trade. If I was sitting there watching the markets and sitting there trying to trade the markets, I would always feel like I had to do something. You know what I mean? And that doing thing was always thing that was stopping me. And then when I started to go through this process, it was 6 months after I looked back, then I realized, hang on a minute, I've taken less trades. I've taken less trades in the last 6 months, than I had in the last couple of years. Meaning I was always trading so much. But the thing is, my success went through the roof. That's when I started getting a very high win-loss ratio. I was very calm, and things, because I was slowing down and just taking things day by day and just being present in the moment, saying, this is what I'm doing today. And I had that sort of daily attitude, right? Like, this is what I'm doing today. This is what I'm doing today. I'm going to the gym and the good thing about the gym, right, was that's where I did my workouts. It's still where I do it today. And so from that process, right, I built up and built up and built up and built up. And then over a good 6 to 12 months, over 12 months of doing this, I could move out of the share accommodation place. I got my own place and things started to pick up from there. But as you can see, right, it was doing these things initially. That was a blessing. I didn't realize that it was a blessing to move into a share accommodation place, because that's all I could afford. Now, I could have used my $10,000 bank or trading account at the time. I think it was that. But I could have used my trading account, right, to then start to have my own house. But I realized I need to keep my expenses as small as possible while I'm really trying to get ahead of these markets, right? Because I was doing okay in the markets, but I wasn't doing great. This thing that happened with the divorce and so on and so forth, it really knocked me on my feet, but it started to get me to think about this. And the one thing that really happened was I found happiness. I found more happiness living at a share accommodation place than I did living in $1 million house with a BMW on the beach with my wife, ex-wife. Now, people say that sounds crazy, right? Like that doesn't make sense. But I found more happiness there because I found peace. I found peace in my heart. And what I mean by that is that I wasn't looking for the money to be happy, because I was doing these other things outside the markets that made me happy. I was going to the gym. I was connecting with people. I was being part of classes. I found that sense of balance from that. Now, yes, I was always spending a lot of time in the markets, watching the markets, but I started to realize that my happiness didn't come from the amount of money I made, whether I had a good trade that day or not. The happiness came from the way I thought about my world, like the way I woke up my life. Waking up in the morning and being excited to go to the gym and being excited for the day and doing all that sort of stuff. That's where the happiness came from, right? It wasn't I had a profitable trade, because if you've been trading for a while, right, you have a profitable trade, yeehaw, I'm the man, next, right? And it's like, and after a while, if you've been trading for a while, right, it's like you have your profitable trades and you have your losing trades. It's a win-loss ratio thing, right? And it's just a day-by-day thing, right? Like when I'm trading, I'm just like, it's the same thing again and again and again for me. It's nothing new in the markets, and it's not an exciting thing. And one of the reasons why I trade today is because I have a bigger vision for where I'm going. Trading is not my all-time passion. It's not a passion for me, but it lets me do the things that I want to do, which is like coach people, do things like this, and plus I have a bigger vision for myself to help people out with some things that I've gone through in my life, such as health and fitness, especially for kids. I'm really, really, really passionate about designing a supplement for kids that they can take maybe first thing in the morning on an empty stomach or whatever. That it's going to really help them, or maybe throughout the day, that's going to really help them get the greens in, right? Because we know how powerful and alkaline those greens are. And if I can design a supplement that the kids can take maybe a couple of times a day, even if they don't eat their veggies, right, they can take this supplement and it's going to be really, really good for them, for the kids. Just the simple things like that. And then also, I'm very, very passionate about people who have gone through abuse in relationships and toxic relationships. I personally have been through that myself. And when you're in the moment of a toxic relationship, you don't realize you're in it. Your life is just going through a bit of a whirlwind. And I went through that a while ago. And looking back now after healing, and still am healing from that, I'm pretty much 100% there. But I look back now and man, it was hard. You go through depression, you go through a lot of hard times, you don't feel worthy anymore. And it's really, really, really a difficult process to get out of that and to feel like you're something now. And so going through that process, and even me going through, I'm on my 10-year anniversary right now, going through my cancer. And 10 years ago, I had lymphatic cancer. And you can actually type into YouTube John Howe cancer, and you'll see the videos back then, right? 2008, 2009. You'll see the videos. You'll see the big lump on my neck, and so on and so forth. So they're the things that I'm truly, truly, truly passionate about. But when it comes down to the markets and making money, it's after a while, it's just the same thing every single day. And I do it because I have a big enough reasons why I want to do this, and that's the biggest. And why I'm doing trading is because that's where most of my income comes from, and from that most of income, I'm growing it to I have an amount with that. It's a multiple 7-figure amount. That when I get there, that's what I'm going to start to do some more trading, but more longer term stuff. And then I'm going to switch over to focusing more on developing businesses and companies that are going to focus on those areas, health and fitness, and then also narcissistic, toxic relationships, abuse, and then developing support groups, like a mastermind type thing to help these people through that, because it's such a bad thing out there that people have to go through. And I just wish there was something out there like a support group that I could be part of every single day, virtually online, when I was going through this, just so I could talk to people and so on and so forth. So I guess my story here is just to encourage you to, and hopefully my story today, guys, of what really got me going in the markets. And I still have my periods where my ego gets involved and I trade too much and I get a bit of a whack and all that sort of stuff. That happens from time to time with me. It doesn't happen often now because I've learnt so many times. I may trade well for 6 months and then I'll get a whack, and then I'll lose 30-40% of my profit, like overnight. I make all this money 6 months, and then 2 weeks I'd wipe out 40% of my profit. I used to do that a lot. I don't do that anymore. Actually, I can't remember the last time I did that, because I think so much pain to doing that now, because I don't want to, me doing that is actually causing me to go backwards. I don't want to keep going backwards. I'd rather be flat for a whole month and not do anything than go backwards. And so from this process, guys, my only hope is just to neutralize your journey with your trading. Trading is one of the most hardest things about trading. It's never the system that you have to worry about, right? Like if you any program you're part of right now, the system works. Now, depending on what you're doing, you got to look at the success rate. If you're against the market, like you're against like a divergence type trader where you try to trade against the trend, that's not as a successful trade system, right? Then a with the trend trade, right? Because we know if there's established trend there and you're trying to jump on that trend, you're gonna have more success doing that, right? Than trying to go against it. Makes sense? Especially if you're trying to get a 2 to 3 to 1 profit to risk ratio. That's what we call the foundations to you as a successful trader. Makes sense? So once again, guys, I just wanted to do this here for you. Let me just bring this up here. And all right, so yeah, So I'm from Pakistan. I am following you. Your videos are so powerful, and your analysis on gold is superb. I'm from Pakistan, and my name is Jonathan. Sir, kindly make a video on spot gold. I will be thankful to you. And sir, please use simple words in English because English is not my mother language. So please, I'm just looking at the chat box right now, obviously. So please kindly slow down, slow. Sometimes I get dynamic. Sometimes I get really, really excited. Yeah. Yeah, dynamic. So sometimes I get really, really excited. And I just can't help it. I'm excited about life. I'm excited about where I'm going in this. Hey, Daniel, how you going, man? Daniel said, did you find it better for the weekly or the monthly goals for trading to keep your emotions lower? Daniel, it was more like a yearly goal for me that kept my emotions lower, because the ebbs and flows of trading, right? Like whatever system you're trading, if you can stay consistent at just doing that system, the natural flow of the markets, right? Like, and depending on what your success rate, if you got a very high win-loss ratio, then you're probably not going to have a lot of trades throughout the month. If you have a low win-loss ratio, like maybe a 70% or 60%, then with your system, right, then you're probably going to have a lot more trades. So depending on what you're at, but either, whether it's like me, I have a 90+% win-loss ratio, but I don't have a lot of trades throughout the month. Now, whether it's either, the reason why I say yearly goals is more important than weekly or monthly goals is because some months, right? Some months are just gonna be slower. And even if you have a monthly goal, if you're trying to make a monthly target of monthly money, I find that does people dissatisfaction in the markets, because whenever I did that, if I was trying to make $8,000 this month, call it that, for a six-figure income at the markets, and I was only at 5,700 this month, and I only have a week to go, what am I going to start to do, Jeffrey? I'm going to start to try to find anything, right, to get my goal. And what ends up happening? I actually lose most of that. If I made 5,700, I'd probably lose money, and then I'd probably be down to maybe 2,000 or 1,000 for that month, because I forced it. The biggest switch for me was yes, I have my having a yearly target, like a yearly goal, that I'm after, and start small. You know what I mean? Like if you're not making any money at all, don't say I want to make $1 million. Start small. You know what? I'd like, I have a $10,000 trading account, or I have a $20,000 trading account, and I'd like to do, and a good goal for me would be, say, 50,000 a year. You know what I mean? Like something like that, but a year, right? Some months you might find that depending on how good of a trader are you, what I mean by that is how consistent you are at trading your setup, and how much you're willing to be patient. But within that process there, within that process there, it's so important to understand the ebbs and flows of the markets and ebbs and flow of trading. Like some months, you're not going to have a lot of trades, and you need to be okay with that, and not be so frustrated that you're not in a trade, or you're not in the market, and doing sort of stuff, because that can cause you to overtrade. And we know where overtrading gets you. It always just leads you down the wrong path. One of the biggest lessons, one of the biggest things for me, one of the biggest things that I realized was that one of the biggest lessons that I learned was that that if I haven't taken a trade for a whole month and my account is flat, it's not down or up, I've done a good job, because my number one rule is to not go backwards. Right? My number one rule is to keep going forwards. And that simply means that if I'm going to get into a position, one, I need to make sure I'm protecting myself, so I'm only having a couple % risk on my account. And secondly, that I'm only taking those good quality setups that everything about me, my logical brain about the pattern I'm getting in, my intuition, everything says yes about it. Not the ego. The ego is that voice saying you're going to make $1 million and so on and so forth. So I hope that makes sense, Daniel, about what I've just said there, man. But it was more like a yearly goal, and start small, and then build your way up from there. I think for initially, Daniel, your goal should be how well you trade today. What I mean by that is how well you were consistent at sticking to your plan that you have, how well you're disciplined and how well you're patient. Like that should be your, if you're looking for a daily goal, that should be your daily goal, right? Because it's within those habits of having those habits of a goal, that's when things can really, really, really start to turn around for you and start to do so well for you, because it's those habits that can turn a really small, the habits of a trader that can turn a $5,000 or $10,000 trading account and then turn it into something bigger, 12 months, so on and so forth later on. I'm following your trading style and I'm trying to learn your price action strategy. You shocked me in gold. You were perfectly in it. Thanks, Dynamic. Yeah, gold. It was just all over the charts. Understanding the bigger picture, meaning that weekly chart, really, really helped me out with that. Later, can you give me some tips on? I forgot you were a trainer. Oh, no problem. I think I'll do some other videos and stuff like that. Thanks for explaining it. Did you ever use daily affirmations and focus on feeling high vibrations when you would feel like to be a success trader before you manifested it? Yes, Daniel. Yes, every day. It wasn't a manifestation. It was more like, sorry, no. And I still do it to this day, by the way, Daniel. Like before I did this, right? It's 6 o'clock in the morning my time right now, and I'm about to head to the gym, but I wanted to do this video. I'd still do that every day. Every day I wake up and then I go out and say, thank you, God, for today. You know, and I just say things I'm grateful. And I say, you know what? Something amazing is going to happen today. Something amazing is going to happen today. I can feel it. You know, I'm going to receive love. I'm going to receive passion. I'm going to receive abundance of, you know, and stuff like that. It was the affirmations that I do is more about self-love and self-care and just being excited for the day as well too, and saying, you know, I expect something amazing to happen today and stuff like that. It's more like that, because when I'm in the market, if I'm feeling good about myself, I don't need to go to the market for validation. That was one of the biggest mistakes I made. I always felt shit about myself. I wasn't taking care of myself, so I always went to the market for validation. Whenever I did that, I got smacked, and so I felt even worse. And then I go eat a pizza, some chocolate, and by the way, I like pizza and chocolate. So yeah, so I hope that makes sense, Daniel. It was more like those daily affirmations, but the thing about affirmations is this: what you say today and every day to yourself, you don't see that impact in your life, whether it's being grateful or whether it's just saying an affirmation, like I'm an amazing trader. I'm an amazing trader. Whatever you say, it doesn't actually start to show up in your life to about 60 to 90 days later. So you've got to be consistent at doing, if it's going to be an affirmation, you're going to say to yourself every day, don't expect something that's, it's going to be start to show up, but you got to really, really start to see effect about 60, probably even 90 days later, like 3 months later. So if you do it for 1 or 2 or 3 days or 1 month or 1.5 months, and you're not seeing any impact on your life, that's okay. You got to keep going, got to keep going, got to keep going. Like if you're going to write down things you're grateful for, got to keep going, got to keep going, got to keep going. Makes sense? And you don't see that impact, the manifestation and all that sort of stuff. You don't see that sort of stuff. It doesn't start to take an impact until about 60 days later on. That's really, you need to do it every day. And it's a stack effect. Stack, 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 stack. And then boom, things start to happen for you in your life. So anyway, guys, focus on feeling good and being happy no matter has helped me as well. And consistently staying in a playful. Exactly right. Exactly. You know, Daniel, and you know, yeah, that's the reason why, Daniel, with a lot of videos, right, you see me laughing all the time and not taking myself too seriously, because of that. I'm always trying to stay in a happy place and a good place with that. So yeah, so yeah, I'm really, really grateful for that. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna head off. I really wanted to do this session for you today to start your week off, because I really wanted to share a story with you that hopefully some things I've said to you has resonated with you, give you some truths about what it takes to get ahead in the markets, and not this airy-fairy fluff crap bullshit out there, but the honest truth about some things that I did that really made a big difference to my trading overall. So, all right, guys, I'll talk to you later. See ya.